Tucker has moved. Amendment standing in his name at 3/NC34A and 4/NC34A. And the question is the words to be inserted. The Honourable Wilson Tucker.
Thank you, Acting Chair. These amendments are related to no grounds evictions. I have raised this as part of Clause 1 debate. I don't intend to take up more time rehashing old arguments, but I think it is important to spend this time and summarise no grounds evictions and really try to, voice my opposition to it and perhaps pose some questions really around the lack of evidence that we've seen so far from this government related to their decision not to remove no grounds evictions. Now, when we talk about renters' rights, it's 700,000 renters in WA, which is around 30% of the population. Now, I myself am a renter. I believe I'm one of the only renters in WA Parliament. And very recently, in the last couple of days, in fact, I've actually been served with an eviction notice. My fixed-term tenancy has come to an end, and my landlord has decided not to renew the tenancy using no grounds eviction clause. And so I will be joining thousands of people competing over a handful of properties in what is now the tightest rental market in the country. And as difficult as this may be for myself, I know there's a lot of people out there who are in a much more difficult situation. There's families out there looking for a home. There's people rocking up to home opens and competing literally against hundreds of people for that single property. And then, as we've seen highlighted in the Make Renting Fair survey data, there's a lot of renters out there who feel like they can't exercise their rights. They can't speak up if their property is in terrible condition, and they don't feel like they have the right of reply. In some cases, they feel like they've been taken advantage of, and they can't speak up, they can't raise their opposition for fear of reprisal and that metaphorical axe hanging over their head, which is no grounds evictions, which, given how tight this rental market is, could mean that these renters are evicted and essentially homeless. And it's been said before that WA is the only state or territory in Australia that isn't either removing or has removed no grounds evictions. And the government's own consultation process has highlighted this and come up with a recommendation to remove it. So Cabinet isn't talking to the public sector here. There is a complete disconnect. And we've heard from the Commerce Minister, the Honourable Sue Ellery, in recent weeks that the government's position here is they do not want to remove no grounds for fear of spooking the investment market, which is a fair concern. That given how tight this rental market is, I can understand where the Minister is coming from. But we haven't seen any evidence to back this up. And myself and the Honourable Dr. Brad Pettit have asked questions and questions. Is it just a finger in the wind by this government, or where is the evidence? Where is the data? And we've seen data contrary to this in the East Coast from other jurisdictions who have not seen disinvestment in the property market for removing no grounds evictions. We heard from the Housing Minister, the Honourable John Kerry, who said that he hasn't consulted with his eastern states counterparts related to no grounds evictions. So it feels like this government has a finger in the wind. They haven't consulted, they've got blinkers on, and they've disappointingly, and perhaps not surprisingly, sided with the real estate industry and property developers over the 700,000 renters in this state. And it is disappointing because this is the bill, as the Minister has said, this is the bill that we're dealing with right now. There's no assurance when this tranche 2 is coming. There's no continuity of service here. We're about to head into an election period. This government will disband. They come back and there's nothing compelling them to even revisit this in the next term. So this is what we're going to have to live with. This is what renters will have to live with for a very long time. We know there's hundreds of horror stories out there from renters. I've had those conversations. I'm sure all the members here are familiar with them. And as you have these conversations and you hear these stories, it's frustrating because there's no reprieve, there's no relief coming, and certainly not in the form of this residential tenancies bill. Now, there are some good elements, but they're all overshadowed by no grounds evictions. Because pets and modifications are all fine, but if you can't speak up, you can't voice your concerns, then what is the point? And we've seen from the data that a lot of renters are concerned to speak up and voice their opinion, and especially given how tight this rental market is, that power balance is completely with landlords to the detriment of renters. So that is, in a nutshell, why I'm opposing this clause and why I'm so concerned about no grounds evictions.
Members, the question is the words to be inserted. All those of that opinion say aye. To the contrary, no. No. I think the noes have it. Division called. Ring the bells. The Honourable Wilson Tucker as teller for the ayes and the Honourable Peter Foster as teller for the noes. And before the tellers tell, I cast my vote with the noes. Members, the results of division. Members, the results of division are ayes 3, noes 27. The question is therefore resolved.